My father refused to walk me down the aisle, all because of my half-sister's calculated lies. Yet what unfolded at the grand reception left him utterly aghast, a man paralyzed by the weight of his own regret. My wedding day teetered on the brink of total collapse, nearly shattered by a profound betrayal. This treachery wasn't the work of some outsider, but of my own kin, my father, and my sister. He had prioritized her insignificant social gathering over the solemn honor of escorting me. The moment the truth of his actions struck him was an emotional blow that still makes my spirit falter. I am Sierra. I was 28 years old when this entire drama unfolded. We lived in a seemingly idyllic home in Richmond, Virginia, where our family projected a perfect image. A lovely suburban house, my mother's meticulously kept rose bushes, and my father teaching me the thrill of riding my first two-wheeler. My father, Robert, was my world's absolute bedrock. He was a towering figure with silver-streaked dark hair and an imposing yet warmly smiling presence. Every morning, he'd share breakfast with me, his eyes softening as he'd declare, "Sierra, you possess the most brilliant analytical mind I've ever encountered. You are destined to make an impact on the corporate world one day." Those words fueled my ambition. High ranks in school were always rewarded with a celebratory trip for gelato. My mother, Charlotte, was the family's gentle emotional compass. Her kind hazel eyes and nurturing disposition balanced Dad's occasional strictness. She worked part-time as a hospice nurse and placed our well-being above all else, often spending hours helping me with my calculus homework or demonstrating how to bake her famous lemon squares. When I was 13, that perfect world fractured. Mom began exhibiting persistent fatigue, and after a difficult 3 months, the shattering diagnosis arrived: advanced stage pancreatic cancer. The next 7 months became a blur of clinical visits, hushed, tearful conversations, and the agonizing sight of my vibrant mother fading away. Her death created a vast, unhealed chasm in our family. My older half-sister, Veronica, was always a source of turbulence. Even before Mom passed, she seemed to resent the closeness of my bond with Dad. Veronica was tall and athletically focused. I was smaller and academically inclined. Mom tried to highlight our distinct talents, but Veronica saw every commendation I received as a direct personal slight. After Mom's death, the sibling rivalry escalated into open hostility. Dad buried himself in his corporate law practice, frequently staying at his downtown Richmond office until well past 9 or 10. I retreated into the quiet solace of my academic work to escape the crushing emptiness of our house.
His absence left a void, which 15-year-old Veronica rapidly occupied, appointing herself the new matriarch. Dad's carrying enough stress. She'd snap if I ever dared to ask about his return time. He's managing crucial litigation. We must be resilient for him. I watched her morph into someone almost unrecognizable. She started cooking, though not with Mom's flair, and took charge of the household logistics. Dad seemed immensely grateful, and their connection deepened, while mine with him steadily eroded. His professional rise only exacerbated the issue. He was made a senior equity partner, bringing in substantial income, but demanding even more of his time. Veronica masterfully exploited this, using carefully timed complaints and emotional maneuvering to solidify her status as his preferred child. Sierra just wasted $75 on a new graphic novel collection, she'd mention, conveniently omitting that it was required reading for an upcoming summer course. Or, Sierra said she doesn't need you at her robotics team finale because she understands how overwhelming your schedule is, when in reality, I had been counting down the hours, desperately hoping for his presence. By the time I was in high school, Veronica had successfully fabricated a negative narrative about me for Dad. I was rebellious, ungrateful, and only concerned with my peers. The reality was I had withdrawn into my creative writing and studies, struggling to cope with the dual loss of my mother and, increasingly, my father. The ultimate sting of betrayal came during my junior year. I was a finalist for a prestigious state-level Virginia Young Authors Scholarship. I had reminded Dad repeatedly for weeks. The night before the ceremony, I overheard Veronica's voice on the phone with him. Sierra told me she doesn't want to make a big deal out of the event tomorrow. She said your being there might actually make her anxious. Maybe a simple text message is better. The next day, I sat utterly alone at the awards luncheon, watching other students beaming beside their proud parents as I accepted my medal. Dad texted, "Congrats, stuck in a major client pitch." I later learned from his assistant that Veronica had called his office and falsely claimed that I had postponed the ceremony, forcing him to cancel and book an unavoidable meeting. When I confronted her, she gave a cold shrug. "You always crave all the attention. It's truly pathetic." At 18, I couldn't wait to escape. I applied to colleges across the state. Eager to sever ties with that toxic environment, Virginia Tech awarded me a generous scholarship, and I threw myself into university life, only returning for major holidays, enduring Veronica's veiled insults, and Dad's stiff, polite detachment. During my sophomore year, I met Mateo. He was tall, profoundly thoughtful, quick to smile, and possessed a precise engineering mind that provided the perfect anchor to my creative chaos. Our planned 30-minute study session over coffee quickly ballooned into a 3-hour conversation, and within a month, we were inseparable. Mateo hailed from a joyous, boisterous family who instantly embraced me. His mother, Elena, a 4th-grade teacher, made everyone feel instantly valued. His father, Daniel, a successful structural engineer, had a wonderfully dry humor. His younger brother, Leo, welcomed me as though I had always been part of their circle.
Mateo was my unwavering pillar throughout college and our early careers. He intuitively understood my family issues without judgment, comforted me during the emotional stress of holidays, and celebrated my achievements when my own father failed to acknowledge them. We moved to Washington, D.C., built our careers, and established a life outside the long, suffocating shadow of my family's turmoil. My infrequent calls with Dad were short and purely obligatory. Veronica, now a high-level real estate agent, still lived in Richmond, consistently portraying herself as the devoted daughter, constantly reminding me that she was caring for Dad. By the age of 26, I was a successful marketing director. Mateo was thriving, and our life together exceeded every hope I'd ever secretly harbored. The old, painful memories remained, but I was building a new life, a new family, where I was truly seen and cherished. Mateo proposed on our 5th anniversary. He recreated the events of our first date, concluding with dinner at our favorite Italian trattoria. A small velvet box appeared with the tiramisu. "Sierra," he said, holding my hands, "you have made these last 5 years the richest of my life. Your ingenuity, compassion, and strength astound me. I want to spend every single day of my future with you. Will you marry me?" The ring was exquisite, an aquamarine surrounded by delicate diamonds as unique as my artistic soul. In the ecstatic glow of the moment, I pushed away the inevitable stress of telling my family. For one perfect night, I simply allowed myself to be happy. The next morning, I called Dad. "Dad, Mateo proposed last night, and I accepted." The silence on the line stretched out, feeling uncomfortably long. "Well, that's "Congratulations," he finally uttered, his voice completely devoid of warmth, as if acknowledging a minor quarterly report. "He seems decent. Have you set a date?" No enthusiasm, no curiosity about the proposal, no invitation to celebrate, just flat, practical questions. "Not yet," I replied, masking my deep disappointment. "Perhaps next August? Just let me know when you decide. I'll have to check my calendar." I hung up and fought back tears. Mateo found me and instantly understood. "He'll come around, sweetheart," he promised, though his tone lacked conviction. Veronica's reaction was far worse. I texted her the news along with a photo of the ring. Her response was so aggressively congratulatory that it screamed fabrication. "OMG, congrats, little sis. So happy for you. That ring is gorgeous." The excess of emojis could not hide the simmering envy beneath. Veronica, now 32, had been through a string of fleeting relationships, never securing a commitment. Despite their lukewarm responses, we pressed on. We settled on August 20th, 9 months away. The date worked perfectly for Mateo's family, our friends, and crucially, my father, who confirmed his availability. "I've put it right on my calendar," he stated with forced sincerity when we sent the save the dates. Veronica was mentioned too. "Actually, Dad," I admitted cautiously, "I was really hoping you would walk me down the aisle." Another pause, but this time it held genuine feeling. "I would be truly honored, Sierra." That brief shared moments of connection filled me with a fragile optimism.
The subsequent months were a whirlwind of activity. Venue visits, tasting menus, fittings, and planning. Mateo's mother, Alina, was my constant companion for countless appointments, offering advice without ever being pushy and always radiating joy. "You are going to be the most breathtaking bride," she assured me at my first dress fitting, tears welling in her eyes as I stepped out in a stunning, fitted silk gown. I was acutely aware of my own mother's absence then. Elena sensed it, gently squeezing my hand. "Your mom would be so incredibly proud of the woman you've become." I also grew close to Mateo's uncle, Silas, Elena's brother-in-law. Silas was in his early 60s, a retired professor of American history with distinguished gray hair and kind, perceptive eyes. He never married or had children, but was deeply involved in the lives of Mateo and Leo. At family gatherings, Silas would seek me out to discuss classic novels, art, and my marketing work. His interest wasn't superficial. He genuinely listened. "You have a remarkable ability to connect with what moves people," he once commented after I shared a recent advertising campaign. "That is a truly rare gift." His genuine warmth stood in stark contrast to my own family dynamics. Dad confirmed his attendance, but never once inquired about the wedding details. Veronica declined to be a bridesmaid, citing her heavy workload, but confirmed she would attend. Then, 5 months before the wedding, I noticed disturbing signs. Veronica began posting ambiguous social media updates about a major event she was coordinating. I called, but she was evasive. "Just something work-related, nothing for you to stress over." But as our date approached, more posts surfaced, venue walkthroughs, catered lunch options, and specific mention of a big August event. I tried to suppress the knot of fear tightening in my chest. The bombshell landed 3 months and 1 day before our wedding. Veronica called, her voice dripping with artificial sweetness. "Sierra, I wanted to tell you personally, before you see it online, I'm hosting a huge career milestone event on August 20th. I finally met my sales target to become a full partner at the firm, and they're throwing a massive celebration. My blood ran cold. Veronica, that is my wedding day. You received the save the date over 8 months ago. Did I? She feigned astonishment. It must have completely slipped my mind while planning with the firm. Anyway, it's just a coincidence. My party is earlier, starting at 11 a.m. at the local country club. It should be wrapping up right around the time your ceremony starts at 4 p.m., so it actually works out perfectly. Perfectly? My voice cracked with incredulity. You're scheduling a party on my wedding day, knowing Dad will have to make a choice? Dad can easily attend both, she responded with chilling calmness. He's so proud of my achievement, but I'm sure he'll make it to your wedding too. It's not that long of a drive. The country club was over 2 hours away from our venue, making it physically impossible for anyone attending her function to arrive at our ceremony on time, especially the father of the bride who needed to be there early for photos and to greet guests.
I hung up and immediately called Dad, praying he could see through Veronica's malice. Dad, did you know Veronica scheduled her work party on my wedding day? Yes, she mentioned it, he replied, far too nonchalantly. It's really unfortunate timing, but these corporate events can be impossible to reschedule. It's a huge professional step for her. But Dad, how are you going to manage both? You're supposed to walk me down the aisle. I'll figure it out, Sierra. I'll go to the early part of Veronica's event and then drive over for your ceremony. There's no need to make this into a bigger deal than it is. But as the weeks passed, I could feel his commitment wavering. He began mentioning potential traffic delays, suggesting we move the ceremony back an hour, and questioning whether I really needed him for pre-wedding photos. Despite the mounting tension, we moved forward with our plans: final dress fittings, photographer confirmation, flower arrangements, and welcome packages. Mateo and his family remained steadfastly supportive, but I could sense their growing frustration with my father's indifference. Then, 2 weeks before the wedding, I received the call that confirmed my deepest fears. It was a Tuesday evening, and my phone rang as I was finalizing seating charts. Sierra, Dad said, his voice hesitant. I need to talk to you about the wedding. I've been thinking about the logistics for August 20th, and I just don't think I can make the ceremony on time. Veronica's event is critical for her career, and as her father, I feel I need to be there for the whole thing. The timing simply doesn't align. I gripped the phone, struggling to maintain a steady voice. You're choosing not to walk me down the aisle at my wedding? It's not about choosing, he retorted defensively. It's about practical reality. Veronica's event is earlier, and I can't be in 2 places at once. Maybe you could ask Mateo's father to walk you down, or your friend's dad. I'm sure someone else can do it. Someone else, as if escorting his daughter was a trivial, interchangeable task that could be handed off to a stranger? I understand, I whispered, my voice barely audible. I will still come to the reception, he offered, as if this were a magnanimous compromise. I should be able to get there by 7 p.m. or so, depending on traffic. After a numb farewell, I dropped the phone and sank to the floor, consumed by gut-wrenching sobs. Mateo found me about 20 minutes later. He's not coming, I wept into his shoulder. He's choosing Veronica's party over me walking down the aisle. Mateo held me fiercely, his own fury evident in the rigidity of his posture. I am so incredibly sorry, Sierra. He doesn't deserve you. Mateo gently suggested we postpone. We could move the date, give your dad zero excuse. The thought had crossed my mind, but something deep within me rebelled. No, I stated firmly, I am not rearranging our entire wedding because of Veronica's calculated manipulation. That's exactly what she wants. The next day, Elena called to confirm a small detail and immediately realized something was terribly wrong. I poured out the whole story. "Oh, sweetheart," she said, her voice brimming with maternal empathy. "I cannot believe your father would do this." "I truly don't know what to do," I confessed. "Part of me wants to beg him, but I know that's what Veronica expects. She wants me to look desperate." "Listen to me," Elena said with forceful conviction. "This is your day, yours and Mateo's. Do not let anyone diminish it. Your father is making a choice he will regret for the rest of his life, but that is his burden to carry, not yours."
Her words strengthened my resolve, but the question remained: who would escort me? The idea of walking alone felt like a public declaration of my father's rejection. Later that week, Uncle Silas called. "Mateo told me what happened," he said gently. "I hope you don't mind him sharing." "Of course not," I replied, touched by his concern. "I know this is a painful time," Silas continued. "Family disappointments cut the deepest." His tone implied a direct familiarity with this specific anguish. "It sounds like you understand more than I expected," I noted. "My own father disowned me for pursuing literature instead of joining the family oil business in Texas," he shared. "Some wounds never fully close, but we learn to build beautiful lives despite them." His honesty brought a fresh wave of tears. "Thank you for understanding, Silas." "Anytime, my dear. And remember, family isn't just defined by blood. It's about who shows up for you when it truly counts." 1 week before the wedding, I hit rock bottom. Despite excited emails from friends and final vendor confirmations, I found myself sitting on the bathroom floor past midnight, overwhelmed by despair. My father's absence left a crushing hole in what was otherwise a perfectly planned day. The next morning, Mateo insisted I meet Elena for lunch. She was waiting at a quiet cafe. "Mateo is worried about you," she said, squeezing my hand. "We all are." "I'm trying to be strong," I explained, stirring my iced coffee. "I keep telling myself it doesn't matter, that I'm better off without Dad there. But then I imagine walking into the ceremony alone, and I just feel utterly abandoned." "It is perfectly all right to feel that way, Sierra. What your father is doing is wrong, and you have every right to be hurt." Elena seemed to gather her thoughts as we ate our Cobb salads. "There's something I think you should know. Something about Silas that might help you understand why he called you." "What about him?" I asked, looking up. "Silas is actually my late husband Daniel's brother. When I met Daniel, Silas was already estranged from his parents. Their father was a very old-fashioned, rigid man who never forgave Silas for choosing academia over the family construction business in Texas." I nodded, recalling Silas's words. "What you might not know," Elena added, "is that I was married once before Daniel, a very brief, regrettable union when I was quite young. When I decided to marry Daniel, my father refused to attend because he considered it shameful for me to have a second wedding. He said it would embarrass his reputation." "That's awful," I murmured. "It was Silas who stepped up and offered to walk me down the aisle," she replied, a faint smile touching her lips. "He understood what it felt like to be rejected by a parent. He told me, 'Elena, you deserve to be given away by someone who celebrates your happiness, not someone who judges it.'"
Her story resonated powerfully. I had no idea. Silas never had children of his own, Elena explained, but he has been the most phenomenal uncle to Mateo and Leo, attending every school recital, every graduation, every significant moment. She was too tactful to say it outright, but the idea began to form clearly in my mind. "Do you think," I asked, my voice hesitant, "would it be completely inappropriate to ask Silas if he would walk me down the aisle?" Elena's eyes immediately filled with tears. "Oh, sweetheart, I think it would mean the world to him. but this has to be entirely your decision." I spent the next day reflecting. Silas had always shown genuine curiosity about my life and had been nothing but kind. There was a beautiful symmetry to being escorted by a man who understood the pain of parental rejection. That evening, I called Silas, and we agreed to meet at a bookstore cafe. When I arrived, he was already there, a stack of books and 2 coffees waiting. "I took the liberty of ordering your usual," he said with a warm smile, "vanilla chai latte with an extra shot, correct?" The simple fact that he remembered such a minor detail reinforced his attentive character. After a few minutes of general conversation, I found the courage. "Silas, there's something I really wanted to ask you." He set down his coffee, giving me his complete attention. "Anything, Sierra." "I don't know if Mateo mentioned it, but my father has decided not to walk me down the aisle." The words still carried a heavy sting. Silas nodded somberly. "Mateo did mention there was some conflict. I am truly sorry." I took a deep breath. "Elena told me how you walked her down the aisle at her wedding to Daniel and how much that meant to her. I was wondering, I would be deeply honored if you would consider doing the same for me." Silas's expression shifted from surprise to raw, intense emotion. He was silent for a long moment, his eyes glistening. "Sierra," he finally managed, his voice thick with feeling, "I cannot possibly tell you what this means to me. Are you absolutely certain? This is a moment that should be shared with someone you hold dear." "I am absolutely certain," I responded, my voice gaining conviction. "You have shown me more genuine interest and support in the years I've known you than my father has in a decade. I would be proud to have you walk me down the aisle." Silas reached across the table to grasp my hand. "Then I accept with all my heart. It will be one of the greatest honors of my life." The crushing weight I had carried for weeks instantly felt lighter. Silas was right. Family was defined by who showed up, not by DNA alone. The final days before the wedding were a happy haze. Through it all, I felt a renewed sense of peace. I made one last attempt to contact my father, calling him 3 days before. "Dad, I just wanted to confirm you're still planning to attend the reception." "Yes, I should be able to make it after Veronica's event," he said, sounding distracted. "Probably around 7:30 or 8 p.m. I swallowed hard. "I also wanted you to know that I've asked Mateo's uncle, Silas, to walk me down the aisle." A beat of silence. "Who?" "Silas Evans, Mateo's uncle. He's been wonderfully supportive." "I see." His tone was unreadable. "Well, I suppose someone has to do it if I can't be there on time." His dismissive attitude simply reinforced that I had made the correct choice. Silas gave a beautiful toast at our rehearsal dinner the night before that moved several people to tears. "To Sierra and Mateo," he said, raising his glass. "True love isn't just about finding the right person, but also about building a chosen family that supports and celebrates you. I am deeply honored to play a small role in your special day."
Later, after the guests had departed, I checked social media one final time. Veronica's post about her career celebration showed minimal decorations in her DC apartment, with barely a dozen individuals tagged. It was clearly not the enormous corporate event she had described. She had planned a simple social gathering expressly to conflict with my wedding. The knowledge should have been painful, but instead I felt a peculiar sense of clarity. The blinders had finally come off regarding the true extent of my sister's malice. Her jealousy was so corrosive that she had sabotaged one of the most important days of my life purely out of petty spite. I closed the app, resolved not to let her cruelty dictate my emotions. Tomorrow's focus would be on love, not family dysfunction. I awoke on my wedding day to bright sunshine.
My bridesmaids arrived, their energy infectious. As my friend Ava was having her hair styled, my phone chimed with a text from Dad. Good luck today. Veronica's event starts at 11 a.m. If it wraps up early, I might make the reception by 7 or 8. Save me a slice of cake. Not a single word of apology for missing the ceremony. Not even a simple congratulations or I love you. Just a stark reminder that Veronica's event took precedence. I passed the phone to my bridesmaid Chloe, unable to respond. He is absolutely unbelievable, she muttered, pulling me into a supportive hug. Don't let him ruin a single second of this day. Silas knocked around midday, looking impeccably elegant in a charcoal tuxedo and holding a small gift bag. I hope I'm not imposing. I just wanted to drop this off for Sierra. I invited him in. You look absolutely radiant, he murmured, his eyes crinkling with genuine affection. Mateo is a very lucky young man. Thank you for coming by, Silas, and for everything else. Silas presented the small box. I wanted you to have this today. It belonged to my mother, and I've been saving it for a very special occasion. Inside was a delicate, vintage lace handkerchief embroidered with tiny light blue forget-me-nots. Something old, something blue, Silas explained. My mother carried it on her wedding day back in 1935. I thought you might like to have it with you today. Tears welled in my eyes. It's beautiful, Silas. I would be honored. There's one more thing, he said, pulling out a tiny velvet pouch. Elena asked me to give you this. It was supposed to be a surprise. Inside was a stunning silver bracelet with a single unique charm, a miniature quill pen intertwined with a fine paintbrush. She remembered you telling her how much you loved both writing and painting as a child. She wanted you to have a reminder of your incredible creative spirit. The sheer thoughtfulness overwhelmed me. These people, with whom I shared no bloodline, cared more about my happiness than my own father. Please thank her for me, I managed, fastening the bracelet. This means so much. Silas nodded knowingly. I should let you finish getting ready. I'll see you before the ceremony.
As the afternoon progressed, I focused entirely on the joy. My bridesmaids helped me into my gown. With my hair elegantly styled, Mom's pearl earrings, Elena's bracelet, and Silas's handkerchief tucked into my white rose bouquet, I felt whole. At 3:30 p.m., the photographer was finished. Elena arrived. "Oh, Sierra," she sighed, tears in her eyes. "You are absolutely glorious." She hugged me gently. "Silas is waiting in the antechamber whenever you're ready." 10 minutes before 4, I made my way to the garden terrace. Through the glass doors, I could see approximately 90 guests, the floral arch where Mateo stood waiting, and the string quartet. Silas was in the quiet anteroom, slightly nervous but composed. When he saw me, his face was radiant with pride. "Are you ready?" he asked softly. I nodded, too choked up to speak. He offered his arm. The doors swung open just as the opening notes of Pachelbel's Canon in D began to swell. Walking down the aisle with Silas, I felt a complex surge of emotions, a pang of grief for my father's chosen absence, but an overwhelming gratitude for the man who had stepped in with such profound grace and love. Mateo's expression as he watched me approach was worth every single minute of the struggle and tears. His eyes radiated nothing but love and awe. In that powerful moment, I realized we were founding our own family, one built on genuine support and mutual respect. The ceremony was everything I had ever dreamed of. We exchanged personalized vows, pledging to champion each other's dreams, communicate honestly, and choose each other every single day. When the officiant pronounced us husband and wife, the applause enveloped us like a warm embrace. The cocktail hour and dinner reception were filled with boisterous laughter, moving toasts, and dancing. Mateo's father delivered a heartfelt speech. Silas's toast prompted happy tears. By 8:30 p.m., it was painfully clear that my father would not make it to the reception. I tried not to let it taint my joy as Mateo and I shared our first dance. As the evening neared its close, I saw my cousin Greg enter, looking disheveled and agitated. Greg was my mother's nephew and had always been kind. He was also one of the few family members who had maintained contact with both Veronica and me. After a quick greeting, I noted his late arrival. "I'm so sorry," he said with genuine regret. "I actually stopped by Veronica's event first, thinking I could make both. But, Sierra, there's something you need to know." He led me to a quiet corner, his expression deeply serious. "That party Veronica had today, it wasn't what she told everyone. It was not a work function at all." My stomach tightened with immediate dread. "What are you talking about?" "It was just a casual gathering at her DC apartment, maybe 15 people total. Mostly her friends from her spinning class and a few coworkers. There was no company recognition, no partner achievement celebration. I asked her colleague Maria about the promotion, and she looked completely confused. The implications were staggering. She fabricated the entire event purely to create a conflict with my wedding." Greg nodded grimly. "That's not all. I overheard her talking to your dad. She's been telling him for months that you didn't truly want him at the wedding, that you only asked him to walk you down the aisle out of sheer obligation." "What? That is a total lie." "I know, and there's more."
Greg pulled out his phone and showed me a text exchange between him and Veronica from months ago. Veronica openly admitted that she had deliberately scheduled her party on my wedding day. She wanted to force Dad to pick a side. The revelation was both shocking and strangely validating. All these years, I had worried that I was being paranoid about Veronica's manipulations. This was undeniable proof that she had been actively and aggressively undermining my relationship with our father. "Does Dad know any of this?" I asked. Greg shook his head. "I don't think so. I tried to tell him today, but Veronica kept interrupting and eventually pulled him away. I'm so sorry, Sierra. I should have seen what was happening sooner." I hugged my cousin and thanked him for his brutal honesty. "Thank you for telling me, Greg. At least now I know the truth." I tried to process the new information. Half of me wanted to call my father immediately and expose Veronica, but the other half realized it was my wedding night, and I deserved to enjoy it. I rejoined Mateo on the dance floor, firmly pushing thoughts of my sister and father aside. This day was about love and the future, not a tragic past. The reception was winding down around 10:30 p.m., with only about 40 guests remaining, when I noticed a disturbance near the entrance. My heart lurched. My father's tall figure entered the ballroom, looking ill at ease in a hastily donned suit. Mateo saw him and squeezed my hand. "Do you want me to run interference?" I shook my head. "No, I need to handle this myself." My father approached awkwardly, holding a small, generic gift bag. "Congratulations," he said stiffly, leaning in for an equally stiff hug. "Sorry I'm late. Veronica's thing ran a lot longer than expected." The casual way he mentioned missing my entire ceremony sent a fresh wave of heat through me, but I remained composed. "I'm glad you could make it for the last hour of the reception," I said. If he caught the sarcasm, he gave no sign. He looked around the room. "It looks like it was a nice wedding," he commented, as if describing a movie he had missed the beginning of. "It was beautiful. Actually, perfect." An uncomfortable silence descended. Then he thrust the gift bag toward me. "This is from Veronica and me." A set of crystal highball glasses. "Thank you," I replied, setting it aside. "Would you like a drink?" He nodded, and we headed toward the bar. As the bartender prepared his whiskey, my father finally addressed the question I had been anticipating. "So who did you end up having walk you down the aisle?" "Silas Evans, Mateo's uncle." "The older gentleman in the navy tuxedo?" The one who gave that rather emotional toast earlier? I nodded, watching Silas chatting with Elena and Daniel. Yes, that's him. You had a stranger walk you down the aisle? His tone was incredulous, as though I had made an utterly foolish decision. He is not a stranger to me, I stated firmly. He has been a part of Mateo's family for years, and he has shown more interest in my life and happiness than you have in a very long time.
My father's cheeks flushed crimson with anger. That's not fair, Sierra. I have always supported you. Have you? I challenged, years of accumulated pain finally erupting. You missed my young author ceremony because Veronica told you I didn't want you there. You forgot my college graduation dinner until Mateo's parents reminded you. And now you skipped my wedding ceremony for Veronica's fake party? Fake party? What on earth are you talking about? At that moment, Greg approached. Dad, I'm glad you made it even if it's just for the end of the reception. My father nodded curtly. Greg, what is Sierra saying about Veronica's party being fake? Greg looked nervously between us, realizing he had walked into a firestorm. I was just telling Sierra earlier, the party today wasn't a corporate event. It was just a casual get-together at Veronica's apartment. That cannot be right, my father protested. Veronica said it was for her partner promotion, that the firm was hosting it. I asked her colleague Maria about it. There was no promotion, no corporate event. It was just a party Veronica planned on the exact same day as Sierra's wedding. My father's face shifted from disbelief to utter confusion. Before he could react, Silas walked over. Sierra, Mateo is looking for you. I think it's almost time for the sparkler send-off. My father looked at Silas with barely disguised contempt. You must be the uncle who took my place walking my daughter down the aisle. Silas offered his hand warmly. Silas Evans, and you must be Robert. It's a pleasure to finally meet you. My father pointedly ignored the outstretched hand. I don't understand why my daughter felt the need to have a total stranger take my place at her wedding. Dad, stop it, I hissed, mortified. Silas remained perfectly composed. I can understand your confusion, Mr. Evans. It was a profound honor to support Sierra on her momentous day, especially knowing how much the ceremony meant to her. My father scoffed. Important to her? If it was so important, she could have scheduled it on a day that didn't conflict with her sister's event. My wedding was scheduled 9 months ago, I explained, the exhaustion and anger making my voice tremble. Veronica deliberately planned her party for the exact same day as my wedding, and Greg has the proof right here. Greg reluctantly showed my father the text messages. He read them, his face growing alarmingly pale. This cannot be true. Veronica wouldn't do something like this. She's been doing it for years, Dad, I explained, my voice finally breaking. She's been intentionally driving a wedge between us since Mom died. She lied to you about me not wanting you at my young authors event, about me not caring if you came to my graduation dinner, and now about me not genuinely wanting you to walk me down the aisle. My father looked utterly devastated. He told me, she said you claimed having me walk you down the aisle would be embarrassing because we aren't close anymore. She said you only asked out of mere obligation. That is completely and utterly false, I insisted. I wanted you there. I have always wanted you in my life.
My father looked like he had been physically struck, years of deception finally collapsing around him. His expression transitioned from confusion to a blinding rage. I need to speak to Veronica, he said abruptly, pulling out his phone. Not now, I pleaded. This is my wedding reception. But he was already dialing and moving away. Silas gently placed a hand on my shoulder. I am so sorry about this, Sierra. Should I get Mateo? I nodded gratefully. Silas returned moments later with my new husband. Mateo assessed the scene instantly and wrapped a protective arm around me. What happened? Before I could explain, my father marched back, his face dangerously flushed. Veronica hung up on me. I'm driving to her apartment right now to get the truth. Dad, please, I begged. Can this not wait until tomorrow? This is supposed to be a celebration. I need to know if what you are saying is true. If Veronica has been lying to me all these years... She has, Greg replied softly. I'm sorry, Uncle Robert, but it's true. My father stared at me, then at Silas, who was standing protectively beside Mateo and me. Something about seeing the three of us together seemed to ignite a final burst of aggression in him. So you just replaced me with him? He shouted, pointing a furious finger at Silas. Some random old man you barely know? Silas stepped forward, his voice quiet yet intensely forceful. Mr. Evans, I understand you are profoundly upset, but this is neither the time nor the place for this conversation. Today is solely about Sierra and Mateo's marriage, not about past grudges. Don't you dare tell me what this day is about, my father thundered. She is my daughter. Then perhaps you should have acted like her father, Silas said calmly, his gaze steady. Being a father means showing up, not just when it's convenient, but when it matters the most. The unvarnished truth of Silas's statement hit my father with the force of a physical blow. He looked at Silas, then at me, his raw anger dissolving into something that resembled deep-seated shame. I have to go, he muttered abruptly. I need to talk to Veronica. He turned and walked away without another word, leaving a heavy silence in his wake. Mateo pulled me close. Are you okay? I nodded, though tears were imminent. I just wish he could have seen the truth sooner. Silas's unwavering presence beside us was a profound comfort. Family revelations are never easy, Sierra, but sometimes they are absolutely necessary for any healing to begin. Elena and Daniel joined us. Don't let this overshadow your beautiful day, Elena whispered, hugging me tightly. You and Mateo deserve all the happiness in the world. We rejoined the remaining guests for the sparkler send-off, forming a magnificent, glittering tunnel of light. Despite the dramatic incident, as Mateo and I rushed through the sparklers to our waiting car, I felt a strange, solid sense of peace. The truth had finally been spoken. Whatever happened next, I had a new, chosen family who genuinely loved me.
Mateo and I spent 2 incredible weeks on our honeymoon in the Pacific Northwest. The distance provided the necessary space to process everything. I turned off notifications from Dad and Veronica, determined to cherish our special time. But when we returned, reality was waiting in my voicemail and email inbox. My father had left 5 messages, each one more fraught with regret. The third one, left 3 days before we returned, was especially raw. Sierra, I don't know if you're listening to these, but you were right about Veronica. After the wedding, I went to her apartment and confronted her with those text messages Greg showed me. At first, she vehemently denied everything, but when I pressed her, she finally admitted the truth. She has been deliberately manipulating both of us for years. I understand if you never want to speak to me again, but I hope someday you'll allow me the chance to make this right. I am so sorry I missed it. Veronica left no voicemails, only a single icy email explaining that she was taking a break from family drama and would be traveling indefinitely. I sat on our living room couch staring at my phone. Mateo sat beside me, holding my hand. "What are you thinking?" he finally asked. "I don't know," I admitted. Part of me feels vindicated that Dad finally sees the truth, but another part is just heartbroken for all the years we lost. "Do you want to call him back?" I considered it. "Not yet. I need some time to figure out what I want this relationship to look like going forward, if I even want one at all. The next few weeks were consumed by thank you notes, returning to work and adjusting to married life. I stayed in constant contact with Mateo's family, especially Silas, who called every Sunday evening. "How are you truly doing, Sierra?" he'd inquire, his voice full of genuine care. We'd talk about books, work, and deeper subjects like family dynamics and forgiveness. Silas never pressured me to reconnect with my father, but his own life experience offered profound wisdom. Forgiveness is never about excusing the behavior. It is about freeing yourself from the burden of your own resentment. Whatever you decide, make sure it brings you peace. A month after we returned, I finally called my father. We agreed to meet at a neutral cafe in Alexandria, Virginia. He was already there, looking older and deeply worn. He stood up awkwardly. "Sierra, thank you for coming," he murmured, his voice husky with emotion. We sat down and ordered our coffees. "I don't even know where to begin," he added as our drinks arrived. "I failed you so completely," I said, without softening the truth. "But I want to understand how it happened. How did you not see what Veronica was doing all these years?"
He took a deep breath.
After your mother died, I was lost. Veronica stepped up, and I was overwhelmingly grateful. It was easier to believe her version of events than to confront my own grief and deep inadequacy as a single parent. She became my filter, my connection to you, screening everything. By the time you left for college, I truly believed her narrative that you were deliberately pulling away. "I never wanted to pull away from you," I told him. "I simply couldn't handle Veronica's constant toxicity. It was easier to create distance." "I understand that now," he said. "When I finally confronted her, she admitted everything. She's been pathologically jealous of our relationship since you were a little girl. She genuinely felt I always favored you, and after your mother passed, she saw an opportunity to have me all to herself." "Have you spoken to her since?" He shook his head. "She left for Miami, Florida, the day after I confronted her. She's staying with a friend and refuses to discuss what happened. I don't know when or if she'll ever return." We talked for nearly 3 hours, revisiting painful memories and deep-seated misunderstandings. There were tears, necessary recriminations, and finally, the beginning of understanding. "I want to try to rebuild our relationship," my father explained as we prepared to leave. "I know I don't deserve a second chance, but if you're willing, I'd like to get to know the amazing woman you've become." "I need to think about it," I admitted honestly. "This isn't something we can fix in one conversation." He nodded, respecting my boundary. "Take all the time you need. I'll be here when you're ready." Over the next few months, we began a painstaking and tentative reconciliation. Weekly phone calls gradually became routine visits. I properly introduced him to Mateo's family, especially Silas, who welcomed my father with immense grace, despite their hostile first encounter. 3 months after our first reunion, my father hosted a family dinner at his Richmond house for Mateo's parents and Silas. It was a crucial preliminary step toward blending our families. While there were awkward moments, everyone made a genuine effort. After dinner, I found my father and Silas deep in conversation in the living room. "I want to thank you for being there for Sierra, even when I wasn't. Walking her down the aisle should have been my privilege, but you did it with honor." Silas nodded thoughtfully. "She is a remarkable young woman, Robert. You should be extremely proud of who she has become, largely through her own formidable strength." "I am," he confirmed. "I just wish I had been more present to see it happen." Their conversation gave me profound hope that the scars of the past could, with time and effort, be healed. Veronica remained distant. sending impersonal text messages or holiday cards, but avoiding any real conversation. I came to accept that some relationships may simply never be mended, and that was a peaceful realization. 6 months after the wedding, we celebrated our first Thanksgiving as a married couple. Our dining table was filled with Mateo's family, my father, cousin Greg, and a few close friends. Veronica was invited but declined. My father's voice broke with emotion as we went around the table sharing our thanks. He said, "I am thankful for second chances and for a daughter whose capacity for forgiveness humbles me every single day."
When it was Silas's turn, he grinned warmly across the table. I am thankful for the constant reminder that family is created through love and choice, not just biology. And I am especially thankful to have gained another niece in Sierra, whose courage and grace inspire me. On our 1-year anniversary, Mateo and I hosted a small, intimate dinner party. Silas surprised us with a toast that brought me to tears. 1 year ago, I had the incredible honor of walking this beautiful young woman down the aisle to marry the man she adores. What began as an act of service became one of the greatest gifts of my life, the opportunity to be a permanent part of Sierra and Mateo's journey. May your marriage continue to grow in strength and joy. And may you always remember that true family consists of those who choose to love you, even when the path is difficult. As I reflect on the winding path that led us here, I realize that even life's most painful wounds can lead to unexpected, profound healing. My father's absence on my wedding day directly resulted in Silas's presence, which ultimately became the bridge for my father's eventual, much-needed return into my life. My family now encompasses both those I was born into and those I have actively chosen, all flawed, but each valuable in their own unique way. I've learned that forgiveness does not necessarily necessitate forgetting or excusing destructive behavior. It simply involves releasing yourself from the heavy burden of anger and establishing clear boundaries that safeguard your heart while allowing for growth and progress. The person who escorts you down the aisle should be someone who has stood by your side through life's most trying moments, supporting and loving you wholeheartedly. Sometimes that person shares your DNA, and sometimes they enter your life through other, more beautiful means. What matters most is not who stands by you on one significant day, but who shows up faithfully on all of the subsequent quiet, ordinary days. I am overwhelmingly grateful to have finally found my tribe, people who choose me every day just as I choose them. If this narrative resonated with you, please consider supporting our channel for more genuine stories of family resilience. Thank you for watching.